I'm having a relationship issue or thing that's coming up for me that
Can you hear?
I want to...
Relationship thing.
Relationship thing.
Issue. Issue.
Yeah, I guess my question is about how, and I think you addressed this in an earlier seminar, that when I feel, at first there's this connection and there's this beautiful feeling, and then there's this inspiration, there's this intuition that says, like, I love you so much, I want to marry you, I want to be with you. And then all of these other things show up, and it seems like it wasn't actually that vibration, or it kind of skips around and it really moves.
Here's the most important thing that we could ever give you relative to relationships. If you will accept that it's the disc you're choosing first and foremost, before you begin focusing in an attitude of evaluating or even acknowledging this is something I want or maybe something that doesn't fit. In other words, there's a tendency to get on that high-flying disc and feel really strong about something, and then for whatever reason not maintain that high-flying disc, and then feel differently. And then you ask the thing that you're focusing upon to make the adjustment rather than you making the adjustment. Now, we are not suggesting that you would reach out and find a person and that person is absolutely the person that you want to be with forevermore. That's not what we're trying to say, or not what we're trying not to say. What we want you to realize is that if you're having a good time on your way to this perfect relationship, that then all of the dynamics that will point out to you whether this is the perfect relationship or whether it isn't come to you. Let's take it away from the subject of relationships for just a moment, because it'll be easier for you to hear it, and then we'll come back and we'll talk specifically about this situation that is so important to you. Is anyone hearing a ticking of a clock? Well, at least we're not thinking about that relationship. In other words, it doesn't take too much distraction in order to put your attention somewhere else. Easier than you realize, isn't it? So let's start at a sort of beginning place in this, and we're going to take it away from the subject of a relationship, a personal relationship, just for a moment. We want to say that as you've been moving through life, you've put a whole lot of things into your vortex, and that law of attraction has gathered all of the cooperative components to that. And so now your work is to do the best that you can do about finding vibrational alignment with who you really are. And as you're consistently finding vibrational alignment with who you really are, then things begin to unfold. A momentum begins to ensue, and you find yourself often in the middle of something that is a manifestation, and it feels to you as if this manifestation has come in direct response to what you want. And so this is good, deliberate creation. This feels really, really good. And so as you focus upon the unfolding of this, whatever it is, and you're enjoying it, and in the process of enjoying it, you begin to notice that you're actually having some slight contrasting experiences that are actually adding to your clarification about something, adding to your clarification. And there's a tendency to then say, oh, I must not be doing the work that I should be doing because I'm not feeling only positive emotion about this, whatever it is. And we say, we want you to give yourself some points for new clarification that is coming, because if you are an eternal being, and if everything that you are about is expanding, and it is, and if the relationships that are the best relationships are the ones that are continuing to expand, then have you had a bad or a wrong experience by having something happen that took you from your high-flying disc that caused you to feel greater clarification about something? Are we clicking with you in some way there? In other words, let's see if we can find another more blunt way of saying it. When you feel negative emotion, rather than beating up on yourself, I'm not on my high-flying disc, instead say to yourself, I'm having a clarifying moment. I'm having a clarifying moment. I'm becoming more clear about what I'm wanting. I'm becoming more clear about who I am. I'm having a clarifying moment. If you've been listening to us for a while, we've been telling you that contrast exists everywhere. Contrast exists in non-physical. It's not contrast that would be discernible from your vantage point, because it is contrast that is so high frequency and so refined, but contrast exists everywhere. So is it possible to be having a relationship that's mostly wonderful, that maybe even if someone were looking into a crystal ball could tell you it is the relationship that you've been looking for? Is it possible that you could be having a clarifying moment to improve that relationship, rather than a clarifying moment that is telling you that this is not the right relationship? Really worth thinking about. And if you're not so determined to put the punctuation point at the end of this and saying this is it forevermore, and instead you're saying I'm having an ongoing experience, an eternal ongoing experience, then you don't make issues out of things that don't need to be issues. Instead, you just sort of have a clarifying experience as you keep identifying more clearly who you are and keep coming into alignment with the more clear person that you have been becoming. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
All right, so now let's hear from you.
So I'm wondering, at which point does the relationship become clearly a step, whatever, the first one, I guess, step one, and something that maybe I want to let go of, rather than...
Well, wouldn't you like more clarifying moments to show you that?
It's like the last week, it just, something happened, and it was part of me wanted it, and part of me had a hard time with it.
Well, what it comes down to, and it happens to you all the time, this is the question that we can feel formulating really within you and within all of you to some extent. So, Abraham, you tell me that I'm the creator of my own reality. And I've been listening to you for a while, and you've convinced me that I shouldn't be asking others to change in order for me to feel good. But I keep bumping up against these things that are uncomfortable to me. And I keep trying to find my high-flying disc, and I keep trying to find vibrational alignment with what I really want. And I'm going general, and I've been doing all of the tools that I can think of, and I keep bumping up against this. This morning, Esther had a snag on her fingernail, and she first noticed it. This is really important conversation, so pay attention. Pay attention. So when she first noticed it was when she was shampooing her hair. It kept getting snagged in her hair, and then it got caught on a piece of clothing, and then it snagged on her robe, and then when she was putting her hose on, it was snagging. And she thought, I need to do something about the snagger, because you tend to think you have issues or snags in your life experience. But what about the snagger? In other words, sometimes you can do something that saves you a lot of trouble, and sometimes not being with a snagger can save you the trouble of a lot of snags.
Yeah.
Now, we're just saying. So you could say, I'm the creator of my reality, and so I take responsibility for how I feel about everything that you're doing. But what if it's really a snagger? What if you've lined up your energy, you've got on your high-flying disc? So that's the when that we would say. When do I know that it's time for me to move on? Or when do I know that I want to do more vibrational work in order to make this work out? And we would say, you can tell if you've been feeling good and it comes up again, and you've been feeling good and it comes up again. We would ask the question, have I mostly been on my high-flying disc, or have I mostly been on a lower-flying disc? And if you've mostly been on a lower-flying disc, and so you're running into snags, then you've got some work that you could do that could make a big difference in this relationship. But if you've been on a high-flying disc and the snag comes, now you have to be wondering, how could snags come if I'm on a high-flying disc? Because you live with this person, or because this person is around a lot. In other words, everything is law of attraction, certainly, and everything that has come into your experience you have brought there, and there's certainly a lot that you can do about soothing your vibration in order to elicit from the universe at large and the universe up close to you the things that you're wanting. But this is a very poignant question that you're asking. How do I know when it's time to just move on, and how do I know when more clarifying work could be done with me? And we want to say always more clarifying work can be done with you, and sometimes the inspiration to move on will be the inspiration that comes. And that's the thing that we want you to understand is inspiration, because there's a tendency from your physical standpoint, you keep wanting to say, well, I don't want to fail. But do you really believe that it would be like going to a restaurant that has really bad food and saying, I'm just going to eat here until the food gets better? I'm going to use the power of my mind to cause them to buy different food, to get different cooks, to prepare it differently. And I feel it is my responsibility. I'm going to take this restaurant as my responsibility. My relationship with this restaurant is so important. Or do you let your exposure to life help you to identify with what you want, and you let law of attraction just bring you to a restaurant where the food tastes better?
Yeah.
So
I totally hear that, and I think it answers my question.
yeah, we thought it might.